What's up, guys? In this video, I want to kind of complain, go on a little bit of a rant, and describe the top reasons that the Samsung Galaxy S22 5G sucks. You could also call this why you shouldn't get it, reasons why the S22 5G is going to be a failure, why I don't like it, why you shouldn't get it, why it's not worth the money, blah, 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 blah. But basically, the S22 5G has a lot of negatives along with the positives. And this is what I wanted to point out in this video. So let's get started. So number one off the top of my head is going to be there is no micro SD card slot. And the reason why this is terrible is because a lot of budget phones have 128 gigs starting with the internal storage. So why am I paying $800 when I can't expand the storage? But a $50 phone, for example, I can name a few off the top of my head: the N10 5G. It could be any Motorola phone, like the Motorola One 5G Ace, for example. Those are like free, and you can expand the storage. And there's budget phones that have 128 gigs, and you can expand the storage with it as well. So why is this phone $800 and it doesn't have the micro SD card slot? I know 128 gigs is a lot of storage, but it would be nice to actually be able to expand that and take advantage of that 8K video or that 4K video and shoot lots of it. Because one of the big selling points of this phone is supposed to be the great camera system. And if you fill up the storage really quickly, then that storage is going to be useless later on. The camera is going to be useless later on. So that's one reason this phone kind of sucks. The next big negative of the S22 5G is going to be the small battery. This is the first time that I've seen such a dramatic reduction in battery size. So the battery of the S22 is 3,700 milliamps. Now, a few years ago, 3,700 milliamps it was actually pretty big. But now, the standard now here in 2022, and it's not just for flagships, it's for every phone out there, is 5,000 milliamps. That's the minimum I should see a phone at any price point, $800, $1,000, or if it's free, I'm prepaid with a port in. 3,700 milliamp battery is very, very tiny, and battery life is one of the biggest practical things I look for in a smartphone. If you have a big battery, then you're good to go. Now, I know that Samsung, with the new chipsets and the new software and all that stuff, is supposed to optimize the battery life the same way that iPhone does. iPhones have small batteries, but the software and all that stuff and the hardware, it squeezes every ounce of battery life out of it. I don't see this happening with this Samsung. It's supposed to be a flagship. Why do you keep going up with the battery size, but then all of a sudden just drop it down? While cheaper budget phones I can name so many phones that have 5,000 milliamps. I don't care if it has fast charging. I like to have a big full battery that'll last me all day without needing to plug it in. So that's one big gripe, one big negative of the S22. Next thing off the top of my head that really doesn't make any sense of the S22 and why it's kind of, a terrible phone, is that it doesn't have a stylus. And I'll start by saying, yes, I know that the Ultra exists and that one has a stylus, but you're paying extra. You're paying an extra $200, $300, $400 for that privilege. I think that Samsung has made the S22 or the S line its flagship, obviously, and I think it's about time that they finally included the stylus in a phone. If they really want to compete with the iPhone in the matter of getting everybody on board, it's like offer something in your standard phone that you don't need to pay extra for, and people will jump on board. You already offer it on another device, which used to be the Note and now it's the Ultra. Include it in the phone. That's a big selling point. If someone offers you, hey, here's this iPhone, but here's the Samsung, you could say, hey, this also has a pen. For a lot of people, that'll be a no-brainer sale, and it just makes sense now. I know you got to make the phone probably a little bit bigger, but the S Pen is I've never used one because it's gotten so expensive to get that capability. So if you want to use a stylus on a Android phone, a really good stylus, you're gonna have to shell out the big bucks and pay extra for a Note or now an Ultra. So it kind of sucks that you're paying $800 for a flagship phone. You expect flagship features, and yeah, not having a stylus is kind of a bummer, especially when budget phones like the Motorola Stylus 5G, that one has a stylus and that phone is free and it has a big old screen. So there's no excuse to why Samsung doesn't include a stylus in its flagship phone. It'll be it'll be a game changer if you compare it directly to an iPhone. Next thing that I don't sit well with is going to be the price. Now, $800 is actually not too bad of a price for a phone overall, but how much better experience is an $800 phone, a S22, over, let's say, a $200 to $300 Samsung or a $200 to $300 OnePlus or any of those phones out there? It's not much. The gap is severely closed to the point where you're not getting that much more features and capabilities from a budget device that's free, $50, $100, to a $800 flagship. And the price reflects that. Like, why, if you were to get regular people and put a budget phone in their hands, in one hand, and the flagship in the other, yeah, you could point out some things that are better, but if you had to tell them, all right, give me the money and pay for this, it's gonna be a lot harder to give up $800 versus just porting your number and getting the phone for free. So yeah, the price is still, to me, not worth it, especially when you have phones out there like the S21 FE that you could get for as cheap as $400 on Boost Mobile, or if you could get a A52 or a A71 or any of that type of phone for really cheap. So yeah, the price is kind of high now for what you get. And one of the last things that make this phone not a good buy, is I'm not very impressed by anymore, is although it's the newest phone, the newest flagship phone with the newest processor, newest chipset, great camera system, it's not that different from the S21 from the year before, or the S20 for that matter. There are no standout features that really jump at you, that grab your attention. It feels like this is the year that Samsung finally gave up. I don't remember anything that stood out to me with the features that were announced. I mean, yes, they improved on the camera. This is what happened with the iPhone, but the iPhone at least has some software, some special software feature that kind of sticks out. And I don't see this with the S22. There's nothing new that stands out from the from the S20 to the S21 to the S22. There is nothing. You put them all in the same room, they're all gonna do the exact same thing. Performance is pretty much just gonna be incrementally better, but not noticeable. It is not, has the same storage, same RAM, same camera for the most part, and just the newer chipset. But it's hard to go from a flagship to a newer flagship processor, increase the the usability. So it's pretty much, I'd rather save the money and just get an S20 or an S21. $800 is just too much just to pay for the same old stuff over and over. So basically, those were pretty much my top reasons on why the S22 5G sucks, why you shouldn't get it, whatever you want to call it, a rant. But these are there's not too many things that are positive that will overcome all these negatives that I've mentioned. So yeah, I'm leaning more towards cheaper devices that actually offer more features and better bang for your buck. Spending $800 on the S22 5G, it's not gonna change the world compared to the phone you already have. So yeah, that's been my video, guys. Let me know what you think, what your biggest gripe is of the S22, what disappointed you about it. I'll see you in the next one.